Welcome to Mesa Family History. In this lesson, we're going to be learning how to add parents. It could be a biological, adoptive, step, or foster parent, or even a guardian parent. What we're going to do is start with James William Jewell. He is my grandfather-in-law, and he was adopted, and he had a foster set of parents, and of course he had biological parents. So we're going to add the three different sets to his pedigree. What we're going to do is go into James William Jewell. We will click on him and we will click on the blue tab. Now, I could right click and open him in a new tab, and that would allow his pedigree to stay here to the left and he would be here on the right. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down on his page until we get to the family portion. Now, James William Jewell actually had 3 spouses, as you can see here, but he also had 3 sets of parents. What we want to do is click Add Parent, and we're going to start with his biological set of parents. His father's name was Jack Bevel. He was male. He is deceased. He was born in 1885. We want to standardize by clicking on the calendar option. And I'm actually going to scroll down here on the right to make standardizing just a little bit easier. And I will click into the birthplace, which was White County, Arkansas. And it'll picks up a standardize down here. And I am going to click on that. His death date was in 1920. I don't know where he died. I will standardize the date, but I'm going to click Next. The system goes out and it searches and it did not find a match, so I'm going to create a person. So now we see his father is in here and we need to add his biological mother. Her name was Judith Watkins. She is deceased and she was born in July 1876. I will click on the calendar option to standardize, and she was born in Alabama. And I need to standardize here, but I can't see the standardized options. So I'm going to come to the right and I'm going to scroll down. Now those options have completely disappeared. If I click back in behind Alabama, I can just hit the space bar and it will bring them back up, or I can continue typing. Now I need to decide whether it's Alabama or Alabama territory. And it actually was a state at this point. So I am going to click on the Alabama state. Her death was after 18 April 1910. And I will click the standardize down here. And I know the death place to be White County, Arkansas again. And I will click on standardized. I will click next. The system actually does go out and it finds a Judith Watkins. And this is the correct Judith Watkins. It shows her first spouse, George Sloat. He is not the father of James William Jewell, but I go ahead and click Add Match, and the system's just going to pick up Judith M. Watkins. It's not going to pick up George Sloat here. So I will click Add Match. So now she is in here. Next, we need to go in and add the marriage events so that we can complete this parental unit. Jack and Judith, to our knowledge, were never married. They simply lived together. So I'm going to click Add Event. And marriage is the default, but if I click over here on the right-hand side, I can click that they lived together. And I know that this was about 1906. And I am going to click About, and I know the place to be White County, Arkansas again. And I will standardize that date as well. I could explain why, and that would be a good thing, but I don't have time in this presentation. But if you know why, please add that information. I will click Save. So now, down here, we can see the information about the relationship. If I scroll back up here to the top, I can X out. And I probably should have mentioned anywhere that you see this light gray pencil in a box, you see it here and here, this is an Edit Relationship tab. And you can click on the one here to edit marriage relationships, and you click on the one down here to edit child relationships. So we're actually going to edit this child relationship by making sure that Jack and Judith actually are biological parents. The default is biological, but we want to go ahead and set that in officially since there are other relationships that will be added with the other sets of parents. I'm going to click on Add Relationship. I will click over here to the right, and it is on biological, which is the default, and that's what we want to double check and click on. And you see biological comes in here, and we want to come down to Judith. We will do the same thing. Click the down arrow, double click on biological. You don't have to double click, just click. And now we have the biological relationship. We can X out of this up here. Now we want to add the second set of parents. I'm going to close this up button here just to keep this a little neater and cleaner for me. We want to add his adoptive parents. They were Herschel, Clay, Jewel. Well, that was his father, I should say. He is deceased, and he was born in 1875. I will go ahead and standardize that. And I believe he's in the system. So rather than adding every piece of information I know in, I'm just adding his birth date and death date. And I am going to click on calendar option there for standardizing. I'm going to click next, and it does go out into the system, and it finds Herschel Clay Jewell and Cora Bell Chesterfield. She was the adopted mother. I'm going to click Add Match. Now the system doesn't just assume that Cora is the correct mother. It allows me to choose. And I, of course, am going to select couple. Now, their marriage date comes in automatically because they were already in the system. So all I need to do is edit the relationship between James and Herschel and Cora. So I will come to the Edit Relationship tab, and I will click. And I will add this relationship up here first under his father. I will click on Add Relationship. It is not biological. It was an adoptive relationship. And I'm going to click Save. I could add any other information I know in there, but at this time I'm not going to. Cora Bell was his adoptive mother, so I will Add Relationship. Come over here to the down arrow, click Adoptive, and click Save. So now we know the relationship between James and his adoptive parents. I will X out, and we can see we have our first set of parents here, our second set of parents, and when it shows James, it does show that relationship as adopted. Now I'm going to close this. I don't have to, but I'm doing it to keep it neat. And I'm going to click his last set of parents. This was a foster set of parents that took care of him for a while his parents were gone for a year or two. So Ernest Isaac Hatch is male. He is deceased. I know once again he is in the system. I'm going to add his full birth date just to make sure it goes out and finds him. I probably could just add the year, but since I have his full birth date, I'm going to add it, and I will standardize it just to make that a habit. And his death date is 1952. And I will standardize that as well. I'm going to click Next. I can see that it brings him up, but he has two spouses here. The system doesn't assume which is the correct one, but what I need to do is click Add Match, and then I get to choose which set of parents. And in this case, it is this first set of parents, so I'm going to select Couple. Now, they actually show up as the first set of parents here because their marriage date was in 1901. The second marriage date is in 1906 for the second set, and the third set is in 1907. But I need to go in and I need to set the relationship between James and Ernest and Lillian. I'm going to click this down arrow, and James will be in black. I come over to the Edit Relationship tab over here, and I'm going to click, and it brings up these parents. I will click Add Relationship. In this case, it is foster. Now, if it were guardianship or step, I would add that in. They actually only adopted him or were his foster parents for 1 year. And I'm going to put the date of that was 1918. And I will select, and I could explain the information down here, and if I had time, I would. I will do the same thing with his mother. I will add the relationship as foster. And again, I would explain if I had time, but I don't in this video. And I would click Save. And I will X out here at the top. So now we can see it shows James as a foster child of these parents. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And we have the 3 sets of parents here. I need to identify which set I want to show up on the family tree. I don't want it being the family he lived with for only 1 year. He actually lived with Herschel and Cora the longest, and that was the family he identified with the most. So I am going to check preferred down here. Now, when I go out into the family tree, that is the set of parents that will show up on his tree. So here we have this set of parents, and the other 2 sets are in FamilySearch. We simply have to go into his person page to see that. So thank you and good luck as you add your parents.